Hello and welcome once again to the Football Uncensored podcast with myself, Rob Kirton, and John Sitton. John, how are you doing? It's been another interesting weekend in the football, all
Yeah,
through the
very interesting.
leagues.
Yeah, good. I'm
Some
good, Rob. Yeah, I've had 3 days off, so I feel
well
quite
rested.
sharp. I feel quite sharp, quite well rested, and had an unbelievable day with my wife and my children and my 2 grandchildren and my daughter's father-in-law and brother-in-law and their kids. Been a fantastic day. You had a really nice bank holiday thus far, so back at it tomorrow. I feel fully recharged, ready to go.
Yeah.
And obviously, like yourself and a lot of other people who've ever gone to live games, or like yourself, done a bit of both. Live game, maybe watched it on the telly. I've watched it all on the telly. Match of the day too last night, and some impressive performances, really impressive performances.
Well, let's start with one of those really impressive performances, and happy coincidence. It's one of your old clubs that we want to try and bring more and more into the podcast. No prize for guessing viewers. That's Chelsea. We're going to talk about with a 6-2 away win at Wolves, albeit possibly helped by some not great defending. But I'll let John be the judge of that. So let's start with a very positive performance from Chelsea, and your take on it, John.
Yeah, no, I'll be honest with you. I agree with you. And maybe what the Wolves manager said in his post-match interview. Um, they were sort of major contributors to their own downfall. I think you're right. I think you're spot on. I think Chelsea got a lot of help. I think it was some very questionable. It looked like 3 segments, 3 separate segments instead of one cohesive unit. Wolves, I'm talking about. I thought the gaps were too big. I don't think they condensed the play enough. I thought they were very naive. I thought there were times when they could have stopped the game. Funny enough, they're different game completely. I think it might have been a Liverpool one when Liverpool done Brentford on the counter for one of their goals, and Troy Deeney highlighted it, and the girl alongside him, ex women England women. They got all these new terminologies, but they mean the same thing. And I thought there were times when Wolves could have been a bit cuter, they could have been a bit more professional, a bit more switched on. I thought they were a bit naive. Um, Having said that, for a couple of the goals, I thought Cole Palmer, he what he does, he takes a touch and his body, the way he is with his body, very relaxed and almost sanguine. He stops the defender. So like they're on their toe, and then he stops them and then rolls it. And obviously the geezers come in. He got actually all 3 goals, and I think from the right hand side of the box. Yeah, so an emphatic win.
Yes.
Total opposite of the first day of the season against Man City, which is understandable. But if they're going to be challengers, they've got to be challengers. They showed that they're not challengers; they're not quite ready yet. So it's all very well. You're looking at the opposite ends of the table. So they got beat 2-0 at home, and I said it looked like it was when I was there. No passion, no leaders, a few mercenaries, um, people going on the missing list, people hiding, people not wanting not wanting the ball, people not defending appropriately, correctly, professionally. And I thought Man City ran out comfortable winners. To bounce back yesterday was okay. But I think if you look at it, if you're going to be honest with yourself as a coach, or honest with yourself as a coach, manager, staff, and with your players, but try and sort of mould it in so that you don't give too much away to the players and you're brutally honest, like he said he was going to be. Um, I think it's fair to say that when Wolves did score, they cut through Chelsea quite easily. So that's one to watch out for. What I did say on Twitter was if Maresca wants a meeting, I'll have a meeting with him and give him a bit of advice when he said about they said you think you're being a bit brutal with your treatment of a couple of the players. I think the one that they were getting at, mate, maybe was Sterling, who was finished 3 years ago anyway, 3 seasons ago. Um, he just said, no, just honest. So what I'd advise him is just be careful because if you're looking to be brutally honest, professional football is not one of the places for it. You might want to rethink that one. That's what I'd have said. It's just me being like a little self-effacing Mickey taking sort of take on it, if you like, the way I see it. Because you can come, if you're honest, you can come unstuck. But yeah, good
Well,
result. It was
yes,
a good
quite.
result. Yeah, it was a good result. They got the points. They've got to be careful, Wolves. They don't become early season whipping boys.
Mm, yeah, it looked like it didn't look a very joined up side at all, Wolves. Some of your other older clubs, unfortunately for me and my accumulator, didn't quite do the business as Chelsea did. So going through the divisions, Millwall,
0-0
Orient,
at Hull.
Gillingham,
Yeah, 0-0 at Fleetwood. And then the O's got beat 2-1 at home to Birmingham.
they did.
Yeah.
I watched that on the EFL highlights, and uh, I mean, it wasn't the highlights weren't extensive, so I couldn't really take a lot from the game.
Mm.
But there was a news article featured prior to the highlights that I think we want to discuss, or you'd like to talk about.
No,
Certainly,
I mean, not really. Not in great detail. I mean, they said it with regards to the goals and the loss. I mean, actually, the few months that I was there, Birmingham was actually our first game of the season. We had them at home, and it was the same then as it is now. They were one of the biggest spenders in the division. Barry Fry was the manager. We beat them 2-1. This time they lost 2-1. And the bottom line is they said it was a catalogue of errors that led to the defeat. And then the other main talking point was I think they showed some Indian dancing before the game to highlight. I don't know. It was a community. We had a very active, profitable football in the community when I was there. One of them moved to Westminster to work in government, and one of them moved to Spurs. So we had a very successful football in the community. I had meetings with them. Very quickly, the point I think they were trying to raise yesterday was and it's funny how it's sort of en vogue now, and how it's all whether it's about timing, whether in light of recent events. Although they showed a different aspect of the Asian community, I think, probably a different part of the Indian subcontinent in terms of religion. And they were talking about how underrepresented Asian players are in football. Obviously, meaning the Football League and the Premier League in particular. I said it 20, yet again, another one in the win column for me. Like some of the players I've said to look at, if you go back through podcasts, if you go back on through Twitter, some of the players that I'd said clubs should be looking at these. One of them was Solanke, Spurs bought him. Clubs should be looking at these. One was, how do you say it, Zillman, the one that's gone to West Ham, the centre back from Wolves.
Hillman.
And then I'll be honest, the other one I've mentioned, who I think someone could buy worth the money, would be Gibbs White. But sticking very quickly to the point, they said about the Asian community being underrepresented in football. So what do they mean by that? I don't know whether they expect to go straight into positions of power. You've got some corporate magnates of Asian descent who have done that. One of the first obvious ones would have been the QPR 4-year plan. And then you've got latter day, the black goings on at Blackburn. I'm talking more about the playing side, and I said that to the original chairman, Tony Wood, the acting chairman, Derek Weinrabe, the board at that time, a prospective chairman in Phil Wallace, and then the ultimate, the person who ended up ultimately being chairman, Barry Earn, was to make inroads into the local community. Because very recently, up until only a few years ago, very quickly, it's laughable, really laughable, embarrassing. 11 season ticket holders from the local area, from the locality. So I said, well, the local area, they're not really football fans. It's a big Muslim area. And I said, what we need to do is send the football in the community into the community and get soccer schools, get the community leaders interested in our soccer schools. And then maybe you'll get one gem, hopefully more than one, but you might get one gem and you sign him academy. When it was my time, it was schoolboy forms, it would now be academy forms. And then if he does well enough, he becomes YTS as it was at the time. And then you've got to keep that conveyor belt turning. So, obviously the more irons in the fire, the better off the better the chance you've got of doing it. Ultimately, one of them makes professional. And if one of them makes professional, I said, you'll get the community believing in it and relating to it and getting involved in it and eventually, hopefully, following it.
Mm.
And that was a long time ago. That was 29 years ago. And it's funny, someone's either seen my interviews with James Elder, or they've read my book, or they've seen me make comments on Twitter about what I said years ago as I've broke things down as and when they've come true. So, yeah, quite poignant. That was quite poignant for me, seeing that.
Mm.
And another one in the win column. But saying it and doing it are two completely different things. When I said it, no one was interested. You know what I mean? And obviously, latter day, the ex-chairman had his own agenda because the club basically, they've got no assets now in terms of ground, land, not a very productive youth policy, and the wheeling and dealing of the first team. So it is what it is. If the local community, which I doubt they will, because they love their cricket, but if they don't get involved, then as the older generation, my generation, die out, the generation above me used to follow me as a player, and then my generation, who followed the couple of generations after me as players, as they die out, who's going to replace them? So it's like I predicted. If you're not careful, you're going to have a borderline non-league club. Yeah, so that's where I'm at with it. Because what happens is the game, Rob. What it does is it can smack you in the face and give you a reality check, and that's what it basically did with me. So, but I think I'm coming from a place of truth and with goodness really, and just to highlight what the intentions were way back when. Yeah, so yeah, quite poignant.
That's good. It's an interesting byproduct of the football, and yeah, who knows? Maybe someone did all of the above, read your book, saw your interviews, watched your podcasts. Either way, nice bit of positivity.
Yeah.
And to make a tenuous link, you're talking about YTS and Academy. The transfer window, which I hate for the record.
Why?
Is just it's just the elongated and the saturation in the media every day until it dominates the football news until it closes, and then once it closes,
yeah,
it's
the wrong window, isn't it? I mean, you're talking about. See, look, you have to take if you're going to be if you're going to put yourself on offer for these things. I mean, I have people like having a pop at me, even though like someone said like why would he think that he's still relevant? Well, all the pundits seem to be relevant, and they all played in my era, 70s, 80s, and 90s, right? The fact that there's still a club there makes me relevant. Then I've got someone else saying, well, you can come and pick me up in your cab if you want. I've got a Jack's. Come and collect me after an home game. Well, I'll be happy to do that now. And we'll have a little chat about why you've got no points after 4 games and you're second from bottom of the league. You know what I mean? And see if we can turn it round. See if we can help you turn it round. Because they've got a full squad and they've got money behind them. Things that I never had. So it should be quite easy to do it, to turn it round now, right? Where you're talking about a transfer window, to me, it's an embarrassment that it runs to the 31st. And so it's going to be up Saturday. It's finished Saturday. So this next Sunday, this Sunday coming, beg your pardon, is the 1st of September. So it's finished on Saturday the 31st, no? So for my money, it should be after the FA Cup, after the Champions League final, up until July the 31st. That should be it. I don't know why they run it for another month. And there's a couple of reasons why. One is you should have already earmarked the players you want. 2, you should have an alternative. If you don't get the first one you want, you should have a second and maybe even a third alternative, right? So he's my first choice. He would be my second choice. If we can't get rid of it, he would be my third choice, right? Number 4, you should get your business done early, right? And number 5, if you do get the players you want and you do get your business done early, everyone's together and they come together in the second week of July for pre-season. Maybe even in some cases the first week of July if they haven't been involved in Champions Leagues or internationals. You know what I mean? That's just me how I would want it if I was director of football, technical director, director of coaching or manager or coach. That's how I want it. You want to be up straight so you know who you're working with. Then with regards to the mid-season one, I don't see the point. Because if you don't get your business done early, A, if you don't get your business done early, and B, if you do business in the winter transfer window, right, clubs are going to hold your feet to the fire because you're either striving for success and looking for a final piece in the jigsaw, or you're scrambling around trying to stave off relegation. So you're looking at anybody and everybody, and you could have like some clubs, if they want to mount a challenge, straight off the top, we have one that springs to mind in terms of fullbacks, one centre back, one midfield player, and definitely another forward. Aston Villa need 5 players, right? So if they want to mount a challenge, you're going to think, right, well, if they think this could get them over the line, right? We'll hold their feet to the fire, and you've seen it. It's nonsense anyway. One tackle can end it. It's nonsense anyway. It's just like silly, like bingo numbers. Right, a bingo ball comes out and it's got 84 in there, and they go, right, what we'll do, we'll add 6 noughts. Right, it's nonsense. You know what I mean? You're looking at like double average players now going for 8 figures. Right, and you know for sure clubs are going to hold your feet to the fire if you're looking to get one. So that's the way I would have it anyway. But it's probably to try and knit it in with what goes on the continent, because they have a mid-season break. We don't.
Yeah.
And their close season is, I would suggest, longer, and ours isn't.
The tenuous link I was going to make from YTS and an academy was a lot of the deals that have been done so far domestically seem to be clubs selling their homegrown players. Conor Gallagher being a very, very prominent example in the football news recently from Chelsea.
Yeah.
I think, is this? I mean, I've read into it a little bit, but to say I get bored with the transfer window story, so I kind of tail off. But do you think this is like a short-term necessity for a lot of clubs because of the situation they've got themselves in, or do you think this is going to be the way of the football?
Well, where Chelsea, listen, Rob, where Chelsea are concerned, it doesn't matter what way around they do it. They've done over 2 seasons since Todd Bealey's been there, Bealey, however you say his name. No disrespect to him, right? They've spent £1 billion on players. They still ain't got it right. Okay, now it's as obvious as anything that it's a way now. 2 things. One is long-term contracts. 2, the sale of homegrown players is to get around, circumnavigate financial fair play and the regulations. So the homegrown who've got, there comes a time when you have got to trade them on, right? But the homegrown who basically come through the system have got an inbred love for the club. I always believed, going way back to the Arsenal that I supported as a kid, right up to the George Graham days, it was his belief that you should always have a nucleus of homegrown talent in the side, with the club literally pumping through their veins, that feeling for the club, right? That's been basically blown out of the water now, because they've got to circumnavigate financial fair play, and they've brought in people who, for my money, haven't proved value for money, hasn't been good business. And then on top of that, just to compound it, to also help circumnavigate the financial fair play rules, they put them on long contracts. So now, if it goes belly up, like it wasn't a very good season last season, and Pochettino turned it around towards the end, but still ended up walking by mutual consent, in inverted commas, which means he got a good payoff. And then so consequently, you've not only got this financial roundabout of players, but you also got this revolving door of coaching teams and managers who, like Alan Hudson said quite rightly on his podcast to me, the managers are signing for the club for the wrong reasons. Right, it's about the financial aspect as much as anything else. This guy's got 5 years, Maresca. Right, so if it goes tits up, he's going to get a 5-year payoff, minimum 50 million. Now, going back to the players very quickly, If you've got like a player on a 7-year contract, right, and you want him out the door because his attitude stinks, his form is poor, you've had your pants pulled down, and you just want to try and call some money back, and they go, "Nah, you're all right. I'm going to sit tight." Either that, or you got to offer him a massive settlement to move on, which comes out of the transfer fee. Then you've got the buying club. They're going to go, whoa, 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 look at these wages. We can't compete with these. So as a consequence of those three things, you're stuck with a player that you might not want in the end. Whereas before, I think you'll find when it was successful, unless it was a younger player, when it was successful under the early Roman Abramovich days, and Marina, who was running things behind the scenes with regards to like 40-odd pros like they're talking about now, and someone sent through like a quadruple decker bus with this is the Chelsea team bus, you know, like a parody, a laugh, a cartoon. Well, she had them out on loan, and she had them out on loan for money. Clubs had to give them like they had a bit of pedigree, and etc. etc. So you want this player on loan, it's going to cost you 2 million a year, right? Well, then they're not going to be able to do that. It's still got 40-odd pros. They can't keep everyone happy, right? And they might need to turn some of the staff over. You ain't going to be able to get them out the door because the buying club ain't going to be able to compete with the wages. One. Number two, they won't be able to compete with length of contract. Two. Number three, the player's gone, you know what? I'll leave it as it is unless you offer me a massive settlement to go. And then he gets bumped from both ends. He get a payoff from Chelsea. He get a signing on fee from his new club, who they might have to give him a bigger signing on fee because he's also taking the cut in wages. So none of it makes sense to me. Whereas before it used to be shorter term contracts for players and managers, and then you either hit the ground running or you don't. If you don't, we'll change. And then what he did with that short termism, he somehow made it work. He made it work. Mourinho twice, Ancelotti, etc. I think Ancelotti served up a double. Jose served up a couple of leagues and a double. You know what I mean? It's Di Matteo got Champions League out of it. Champions League win. So you know it proves it can work. He's gone the opposite end. To get this guy's has gone the opposite end. I think I said it before. I'm going to say it again. There's certain people he must have done business with. I would never use him again. You know what I mean? You don't. If someone tucks you up, you don't do business with them again. Either that or some people he's paying good money to advise him. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're looking at, and they don't know what they're doing. But there's obviously a grand scheme.
Well, yeah, you'd like to think there's a plan there, no matter how silly it seems to outsiders. I mean, the guy, I think Maresca said it in an interview last week or this week. Said it's not as chaotic and ridiculous as people say it is. I'm only working with 24 players or 20 something players. He said everyone else is. I'm not interested. They're away.
He's right to do that. Otherwise, it's rubbish. I'm telling you, I've been at every level at a football club. It would be madness. I remember the staff when I was at Chelsea. They gave me Ray Wilkins' old number 40, with you have your numbered kit, right? And they gave me number 40. And I think it was something like I think it was either 42 or 44. Might have been 46. So that was first team reserves and youth team. 46 players. It might have even gone up to 50. Because I remember, I'm sure I remember we got these bright yellow tops and we had one set of blue, one set of yellow, and the number was shown on there and on the shorts. And I remember the thing he said, and like that, I went, what? I just signed. He said, well, they must think you're going to do something. I went, why is that? He said, that's Ray Wilkins' old number. Yeah, number 40. That was the year I signed apprentice in 76. But he's right to do that. Rob, he's right to do that. Any other way is madness.
You can only, I think, you can only register. I think it's 25. I think you can only register 25 to play Premier League anyway. Yeah. So if your hands are tied, whether you've got 25 players or 45 players.
Well, as part of his remit is to make decisions. Part of what the job is he's got to be decisive. He's got to make decisions. That's one thing I like to think I was. He's got to make decisions, and these are the 25 I want to go with, and that's it. And like he said, I'm not being brutal. I'm just being honest.
Yeah, we will see how the last few days of the window go.
You know what I think?
Traditionally,
You know what I think's a
it's
blinding
chaos,
bet.
isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I'll tell you, Rob. But after this start, right, well, a couple of games in, what's already
Mm,
looking interesting to me, right, is the contrast between one of their main rivals, which is Tottenham. I'll tell you what'll be a blinding bet if you're a gambling man. Just say, what's the odds for Chelsea to finish above Spurs, and what's the odds for Spurs to finish above Chelsea? Right? Because I think they will be the next club down after Arsenal in terms of the mountain in the challenge. And what do I stick with what I said last year? I like what I've seen so far. I think it'll be out of City and Liverpool, maybe Arsenal, mate. But I think Arsenal need another couple of players. And I think going on what I've heard, right, and albeit it's like you say, a tentative link. I've got a tentative link. From what I've heard, he's trying to get another one, maybe two in before the end of the deadline. Right, that's Arteta. Maybe one. They might get another one over the line, but I just think
mm.
like a couple of their frailties have been were shown up without being punished. In terms of funny thing, what we was talking about last week, the last podcast, putting the ball at risk unnecessarily, and then teams conceding the ball, setting a trap, daring them to roll the ball out, daring them to roll it back to the goalkeeper and then going whoosh, 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 and flying in, and then the other one spacing off appropriately. So that as the keeper or the centre back turns it out and rolls it, then that player locks on and gets the geezer's head down and puts him under pressure, gets within blocking distance. Boom, hold up, we pinched it like twice yesterday. Two goalkeepers had it pinched off of them.
Yeah, I was going to say it was very prevalent.
Pickford, and who was the other one? Remind me that he made his debut.
Uh,
I think he made his
he,
debut.
um, he's the ex-Burnley keeper, and he went to who was it?
He got it under his feet and he had it pinched off him, didn't he?
Yeah, I forget where he.
Was it Newcastle
Got,
Bournemouth game? Was it the Newcastle Bournemouth game? Was it weren't the Bournemouth geezer, was it?
no, I can't think who it was. I don't know whether that was.
Yeah, anyway,
Anyway,
that's gone out me nut. But anyway,
yeah,
so
same here.
it's funny what we spoke about, and then they still persist with it. And then he showed Pickford his feet are not quick enough with regards to when someone like Heung-min Son
So
to close him down. He's one of the quickest outfield players, and then once he sort of got it out of his feet too far, he couldn't make the ground up, pinched it off his toe, and then slotted. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's going to be interesting. They keep persisting with that. It's on. If it's on, do it. If it ain't on, don't do it.
easy, easy and simple. Well, we're down the last 5 minutes again already. So just very quickly. Another manager, Eric Ten Hag, perhaps reasonably fortunate to keep his job, possibly saved by a cup final win. But I think it's fair to say most people weren't expecting him to be at Man United this season. They've not had a great start. I mean, they squeaked a 1-0 last week, got beat at the weekend by Brighton
Right. Yeah.
quite easily so.
Brighton was superb as well. Yeah,
They were good.
I like what he's done. This new guy so far. I like the work he's done, and they've gone with it high energy, high press, get in your face type of football, and they've got plenty of ability in the side. It take me another couple of games to sort out their shape and pattern, like it will all the other clubs. I'll do it once I've seen them over, because you just get glimpses, don't you? And then it might change, and then you go, well, how did they set up, and what did they evolve into during the course of the game with the passing and movement? Well worth the win, Brighton. Well worth the win. Me personally, I think they've delayed the inevitable. I think they might give him was it a 1 year extension, or he signed a new 2 year deal. That's like a financial cushion for him. Gives him a bit of credibility among the players. But if the players are not performing and they're still turning out mistakes like that and defending like that, then probably I'll give him Christmas. If they cut off, I honestly believe they've totally renewed his contract for more than the FA Cup win. The fact that they couldn't get a suitable replacement.
Yeah, that might be near the money, to be fair.
Yeah, the FA Cup win bought him a bit of time. Tactically, he got it right on the day. But then, when you say tactically he got it right, it's the only way you can try and play against Man City. You've got to put their accuracy of passing and movement under pressure. as high up the field as you possibly can. Anyone who tries to concede the ball, even if they've got pace up front and they think they can hit the opposition, ergo Man City on the break because there's a bit of grass in behind, there's a bit of space in behind, is mad, because you're calling it on. And they're not going to give the ball away if you concede the ball. And then when they do get in and around the middle third, they up the tempo, the attacking third, they up the tempo a bit more. And what they do, they swarm around the ball, they get bodies around the ball, which is part of their pattern. Whereas what used to be coach was first movement away from the ball. What they do, they say, I've never seen him do a session or what you said in the change room, but I'm trying to translate it. He's like, I want you to be pulled in towards the ball. I want you to be attracted to the ball. So that'll help the person on the ball. Now, the only way you can play against that is to test their accuracy of passing and their movement as high up the field as possible to give yourself an 80, 85 yard recovery run in terms of 80 to 85 yard margin of error. You understand? So if they pass through the first, what they call now this first phase, they've then got to beat the first press. They've now got to beat you in the second press, and then ultimately the third. So what too many people do, they settle for just getting bodies behind the ball. You can do that. You've got to be immensely confident in your players individually to hold their discipline, which means defending correctly, stand on your feet, not getting beat easily, and then depend on your players' discipline collectively as a unit, whereby they're spaced off and they're covering each other if someone does make a bit of a boo-boo. You know what I mean? Yeah, so it's interesting. This one, I think one of them watch this space.
Yeah, I agree. Minutes under a minute to go, unfortunately. Just feel like we're just getting into this one, but so thank you for everyone for returning to watch us. Please continue to share, like, and subscribe. Subscribe to John's YouTube channel. We need to get the hits up on that. This, Reliably Informed, is John's 50th podcast, combined with myself and a couple of others doing it with him. But this is John's 50th podcast, so that's worth celebrating at the end. Positive.
Bullseye. Thanks for your time, Rob. Thanks, everyone. Please watch, like, subscribe, share it if you will with friends and colleagues. Here's until the next time. Cheers, mate.
All.
See you later.
See you later.